Welcome everybody to another episode of Lockdown 23 and 1. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we're traveling down to Memphis, Tennessee, not too far from me. I recently just moved here from Virginia Beach, and actually yesterday morning by my old house, right? I'm talking about just walking distance. Not to change the subject of this video or anything, but this was wild. A car drives down the 15th Street fishing pier, breaks through barricades, and drives over into the ocean. I still don't think they found the car or the person, but someone that was at the beach around 6 in the morning yesterday recorded the whole thing. The video is wild. I can't even imagine what's going through someone's mind to drive into the ocean. But my condolences go out to the family members that unfortunately probably had to watch that video. Anyways, like I was saying, we're traveling down to Memphis, Tennessee, where an inmate was killed right outside of the courtroom. Crazy story, ladies and gentlemen, so prepare yourself. If you enjoy this type of content, all things lockup and crime related, then this is where you want to be. Hit that like, subscribe, notification bell before you leave, and check out my playlist with many more videos for you to start watching today. Inside of Shelby County Jail, an inmate was killed by the hands of another inmate as they were waiting to go into the courtroom for their hearings Thursday morning. Like I said in a video the other day, usually from the jail you get transported in an elevator down to this little basement, get shackled up, then you go through sometimes an underground tunnel to another holding cell area that's underneath the courthouse. Then you'll take another elevator up to whichever courtroom that you're going to be going to. And typically, like from what I'm used to, there's about 10 people in that holding tank. One person get called to go to court, and the bailiff come get them, and they'll take them to that little door that you see the inmates come out of. Literally, that door right next to the courtroom is only a few feet from those holding cells. So inmates can bang on the walls, cell doors, and everything in the courts. The judge, everyone can hear it. There was numerous times where I was in the holding tank with a bunch of people acting crazy. Bailiffs came in there and said, look, y'all better shut the hell up or y'all are going to get smoked by the judge pretty much. I've seen all these guys walk in and come back. Some smiling, some sick. Right, so emotions are flying already to begin with. That's just a little taste of what happens inside these holding tanks. You know, I've got plenty of experience in them. But the article goes on to say that it happened inside Criminal Court Division 1 around 9:30 a.m. The judge said they were preparing to begin court when she heard screaming coming from the inmate holding area. This is by far the worst that I have ever seen in a courtroom setting, the judge said. It certainly sounds like it was planned. And I agree because, you know, a lot of people, they don't typically take blades to court, shanks, whatever you want to call it, right? They just don't. So for him to have been armed, yeah, I think it was planned somewhat a bit. From what I read, they might have been a little bit of enemies out on the streets. So maybe he got wind that he was going to be transported with dude and said, you know what, I need to protect myself. Maybe I should go with a weapon. The judge said we heard a lot of yelling and screaming. She said shortly after that, Officer Barnes came out very quickly with an inmate who was holding his throat. It was this man, Mr. Dion Bird. Now, when he came out the holding tank, there was someone else in the courtroom that witnessed the situation. He said when he came out, Dion was holding his neck saying, please don't let me die. They were saying he got stabbed in a main artery. I was shocked that this was in the courtroom. Dion Bird was rushed to the Regional 1 where he later died. And this is the inmate that took his life, Mr. Donnie Clay. The judge said, first of all, an inmate shouldn't have access to a shank. I'm sorry, Your Honor, but I'm here to tell you that will never stop. Inmates will always find a way to make a weapon. Always. Guaranteed, no way, definitely never ever gonna stop that. She goes on to say, and then how does it get from the jail up into the courtroom setting? I don't understand how that happened. Well, if I remember correctly, right when you leave the cell block to go to court, they strip search you. So either they didn't strip search the dude or he had that thing hidden where the light don't shine. According to the affidavit, Bird was in handcuffs and had been waiting to be taken back to the jail when witnesses said he approached Clay, accusing the man of breaking into his home. Clay denied the wrongdoing, and Bird spit in his face, according to the affidavit. How did they know all that? Probably because there was a bunch of other inmates in there watching the whole thing go down. Clay then said, I'm gonna kill you now, and took a sharp piece of metal from his waistband. Investigators said that Clay chased Bird into a nearby room and stabbed him at least once in the neck. Bird ran from the room as a deputy entered the inmate area. He was then taken to the hospital where he died. Now, like I said, there's a couple scenarios here. It says that he was handcuffed in this article. And typically when you're going to court, from what I've experienced, you're shackled up front to your ankles. right? So you can actually move around a bit. So if I were to guess, maybe he was, cuffed up as well. They're all cuffed up, but still has the ability to reach into his waistband and shank him. But I do not think that they were shackled together, because there was an altercation where they were kind of running around in the inmate holding cell. That's where the change is going to be taking place in that courtroom. They will be chained down to something. It's going to prevent them from just walking and roaming around in that holding cell before they go in the courtroom. And this is Donnie Clay coming out of one of those holding tanks into the courtroom right now. Now, first and foremost, before I paint this picture for y'all, my condolences go out to Mr. Bird's loved ones. No one should have to go out like that. But I remember I was in a holding tank one time in Chesapeake City Jail. Right outside the courtroom, I was facing a lot of time. A lot of us were. We came from, I believe, 2D at the time. It's a cell block, the highest level security cell block. So usually everyone going to court from there is going to prison. So everybody's on edge in this holding tank. Anyways, it's towards the end. Everyone's kind of getting smoked and spared here and there. I don't know what happened to me or while I was even in there, but they brought this guy back that was snapping. And what I mean by snapping is when they opened up that door for him to come from the courtroom back into the tank, he was already yelling. Had to have already been doing it in front of the judge, right? So he comes into the cell, they uncuff him, and he starts pacing. Some idiot has the nerve to say, "Bro, sit down, you're walking too much," without responding and showing any sign of attack coming. He keeps on pacing about 2 or 3 more times and then mauls him. The majority of people, when you start getting the upper hand in a fight, you start slacking up a bit. You don't want to kill him, right? You're already winning. You got the shine that you need. But some people, man, they just crank it up a notch. And that's what happened with this situation, man. Homeboy was done. He balled up in a corner and in this cell, the holding tank, as a bench. And he was on top of that slab, balled up. Nice and tight, and dude's hitting him. Finally, the dude grabs him like when you watch the World's Strongest Man competition. They got to pick up the big concrete round ball. That's what it looked like, because the dude wasn't too small. He picked him up like that, and he was stuck in the ball formation. You could tell he was squeezing him. He slung that dude to the right, and right next to the door, because the cell ain't that big. Right next to the cell door, immediately to the left, it angles like this a little bit, and there's a toilet and a sink, and then another wall. He throws the guy perfectly in between the little space of concrete and the toilet, almost like a backboard shot. Hit the wall and bounced right to the toilet. Keep in mind, the one that won here, the fight, was the guy that was pacing. He didn't even want to fight to begin with. If it wasn't for dude saying something at all, none of that probably would have happened. Another perfect example of watch what you say. You never know how it could end up. I will give the deputies this, though. They were there pretty quick. All that being said, I can't even imagine someone getting stabbed in the neck in that holding tank right next to me. That had to have been an extremely graphic scene. Once again, my condolences go out to this family, and hopefully they get some change when it comes down to securing inmates in that holding tank. But that's a wrap for today's episode. Unfortunately, it's not a comedic one like I enjoy doing. I read so many stories of inmates dying that I said, you know what, it's time to start bringing these things to the light. And here we are. As a matter of fact, tomorrow we got another one. A 27-year-old female kills her own cellmate in a very gruesome way. We'll speak about that tomorrow, so stay tuned. In the meantime, though, as always, y'all be easy, be safe, and stay free.